And the second presentation is, ladies and gentlemen, by Mr. D.S.R.Jayawardena, tutor in law, University of Colombo, faculty. He is going to make a presentation on protection of rights of copyright users with special attention to visually handicapped people under Sri Lankan intellectual property regime. I invite Mr. Jayawardena to make a presentation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And now I am trying to move your attention into slightly different but considerable area, which is protection of the rights of the copyright user with special attention to visually handicapped people under Sri Lankan intellectual property regime. Now the world has been gradually moved from product-based economy to knowledge-based economy, so that the validity of intellectual property has been trumped over all kinds of movable and immovable properties. Among all these various kinds of intellectual property issues, the copyright issue is more significant because it impacts without having any distinction of human life, especially without having any distinction of their wealth or their education or level of their income. Because of that, various treaties have been implemented to protect the variety of copyright issues. So in Section 5 of the current Copyright Act, all the literary, artistic and scientific creation have been protected as copyright works. The same section defines author as the physical person who created the work, and unfortunately, there is no specific interpretation for copyright use. In Article 27 of D.S.R. 2 discusses about the rights of copyright author, and he has all the material interest of his own work. In Section 9 and 10 recognize about those rights. The same article in D.S.R. discusses about the inherent right of common mankind to be the beneficiaries of all literary, artistic and scientific creations in the world. However, in Sri Lankan intellectual property law, there is only mere statement to protect the rights of copyright users. So, in the term of common mankind, the visually handicapped people also protected. Therefore, under current intellectual property regime, we need to establish laws to protect the copyright and related rights and accessibility rights of people, those who are visually handicapped. As per Harper and Susan, there are 129 million book titles are available in the world for sighted people, but unfortunately, only there are 7% of books are accessible for visually impaired people. To conduct this research in thorough and in-depth manner, I use both quantitative and qualitative research methods. Quantitative, I distribute 15 questionnaires among various kinds of visually handicapped people on the basis of their occupation and their income and on the basis of their education and especially level of their vision. And qualitatively, I received information from various kinds of legal professionals and academics, those who are doing researches on intellectual property law. But for convenience, I limited this research into Colombo area. For under this type of small example, we can't So, cannot be disregarded the library research as well as the internet, which are used to find primary and secondary sources. Aristotle once pointed without the protection of right to equality, these types of strategic issues lead to a social comeback. Therefore, because I would like to specially point it out, this current situation will violate the right to equality, which accepted under Article 12 of the current Sri Lankan Constitution. And once we discussed during my slideshow, the case of Frank and Sons Limited versus Frank and Sons Limited versus Frank Smith and Limited. In that case, author should have to be considerable amount of labor, skill and judgment to be accepted his or her work. However, the mainstream is the user who measure the quality of copyright work. But I like to ask you one question. Without inaccessible environment, how author can measure the quality of copyright work? That's why I always argue that the right to accessibility of all kinds of people without any distinction should be protected. In such context, the Hyde Park President versus Yellen, the court accepted that the text of ordinary reasonable man who should be applicable for such a intellectual property issues. And there is also the importance of a concept of reciprocity, where we discuss the reciprocal duty on the hand of copyright author as well as user to protect the right of each party. This what happened in the Amazon Kindle ebook reader incident. In that incident, Amazon company introduced the accessible ebook reader, screen reader software for visually impaired people, which helped them to refer all the ebooks which appeared on the internet. But unfortunately, American largest organization of publishers called the Authors Guild has put pressure on Amazon to prevent the accessibility of visually impaired people over that software because it hinders the profit of authors' audio book market. So finally, with that pressure, Amazon agreed to limit the accessibility of disabled people. This what happened in the year 2011 when the Google tried to introduce such a software. When I talking about the situation in Sri Lanka, the situation is worse than US. As per Marrakesh experts, there are only less than 1% of books are accessible for visually handicapped people in developing countries. So, in Sri Lanka also, as per my research, in Sri Lanka also, there are 1,000 people with visually handicapped and print disabilities are vulnerable due to inaccessibility to copyright work. When I point even about the situation in the Library of the University of Colombo, there are 5,000 books are available for sighted persons, but for visually impaired persons, there are only 100 of books. And when I talking about the National Library and all the regional library in Sri Lanka, situation is same. So there is necessity of promoting legal steps to protect the rights of visually impaired and specially disabled people. To meet above aforementioned requirement, there should be an amendment to Intellectual Property Act by addressing user rights and especially the right of the disabled people at number 20th of 1996 should be amended by emphasizing the right to accessibility as the main right of the disabled and visually handicapped people. Not only that, policy implementation also important. In India, 1986 the right to education policy and 2005 under right to information bill, they have taken implied steps to protect the rights of visually impaired people. And the government meeting taken in 13 July of 2008, Indian government decided to make all their university and colleges barrier-free for print disabled people. So, my dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude my research in one sentence, that is, now books are not just for looks. Thank you very much.